Remember, the Tampa GT does not have any brakes. Oh my god, it doesn't. Got away with that. Holy shit, this thing. I was... The brake has indeed left the chat. Bro. I wish more cars were this interesting, man. Honestly, I have heard no such rumors, to be honest. I don't think I heard anything about what the 6 driving physics are gonna be like. But I think like with driving physics is really one of those things where you have to kind of like play it to understand it, if that makes sense, right? Like, if I tell you GTA 5 driving, I think most, if not all of you, will understand what it's like, right? You know how it feels. Unless you're Hunter, because the only thing that you drive is a Presser Mark II, but... that's beside the point. When I tell you what GTA 4, like, you know, GTA 4 driving, most of you will understand what that is. Some of you will actually immediately start vomiting at the thought, which, too, is fair. Because, like, for example, if you take this car right here, right? What exactly is a sedan? Straight up, like, what is a sedan supposed to be? Is a sedan supposed to be like a slower version of a sports car, or is it generally meant to be like a bit more understeery and just a bit more slow in acceleration, or like what is it? What is it meant to be? Is it like a sports class light, or is the best sedan in the moment? Sounds more like a supercar than it does like a, you know, like you would assume a sedan sounds like. Like, that's one of the things that are really just kind of trying to drive home at the moment. It's like vehicle classes in GTA 6, or just like, you know, just a vehicle class, I guess, should really like be defined by its characteristics. Muscle cars, right? If you look back at the original muscle cars that were releasing, they didn't have a whole lot of grip. The brakes weren't great, but it basically made what a muscle car is, right? You knew that when you were getting into a muscle car, you were gonna have to be a little bit more careful with the way that you're driving it. It wasn't like an Entity XF, where if you got into the car, you were gonna get a bunch of grip and acceleration and stuff like that, right? It felt like something that was more special to drive than a, you know, a beaten up muscle car. And I know that the argument of like, oh, but modern muscle cars, but still, right? I think there should still like be very much like a differentiation between the classes. That they all have their place and they all feel unique. Like, what defines what a class is. Because I don't think you want to end up in the same situation that we're in GTA Online right now, where we're just kind of left with vehicles that feel very similar, because the Minimus that we're driving right now feels like just another GTA Online vehicle that had been released over the past couple of DLCs. It's grippy, it drives perfectly fine, but it doesn't really do anything special. Whereas, for example, the Tampa GT that we were driving earlier, it has no brakes, but that makes it interesting to drive and gives the car a character. Oh, the Gtamen is in coupes. Well, never mind then. I apologize. But I guess, like, you know, I guess sometimes it could also just be a matter of, like, the stylistic choices, right? Sedans will also be four-door cars, but still, like, I don't know. I think, like, from a driving perspective, with that I mean don't drive like that. Look, every single vehicle that you're getting is that in the DLC is going to make its way to GTA 6 one way or another. They're not necessarily being backported, because it doesn't make any sense from a development perspective. I've done a video on that before if you're interested. Cars need to be defined by what are they like. And I think preferably, and not necessarily only preferably, but I think they should all have a characteristic with it in terms of driving, right? If that means that the sedan class, for example, are all four-door cars that are grippy but don't have that much speed going on and like just simply aren't that quick, and it's kind of like average in terms of speed and acceleration, that's cool. But I think like the moment that sedans, for example, start becoming like, you know, mid-tier sports cars, maybe then we kind of have a problem. And maybe I'm taking this way more serious than it should be, but I would really like it to be, well, I'd really like it so that GTA 6 will have like a huge focus on making sure that there is a lot of different cars that have a lot of different kind of characteristics, right? Like they all need their own character. When you get into like a Tampa GT, for example, in GTA 6, that you're like, okay, I got into this vehicle, but I have to make sure to keep in mind that this thing does not have any brakes, right? That if I'm going to take a corner, I have to brake earlier. But maybe that's just because that's how I feel, and I think that just makes for a more interesting driving experience in the game overall. That it's just not as simple as like, oh, this car is quicker and just still drives the same. Because I think, like, especially with the fact that we all know for sure that GTA 6 is going to be something that is going to be a game that's going to be here to stay for a very long time. I think keeping that in mind, especially with further updates and stuff, to not have the cars lose their identity is very important. You could also have different tiers and stuff, of course. Yeah, I mean, you know, have like a separation between old school muscle cars and like the more modern versions. That would go a long way. You know, like have a hypercar and supercar class and stuff. But I think at that point you might also like kind of convolute things as well, if that makes sense. Because there's no doubt about it, the fact that at some point you're definitely going to have the fast vehicles and the slower vehicles within the class, because that's just inevitable, really, right? Like, the game cannot be completely balanced that every car will be able to compete with every car, because that would also just make it less interesting too. With GTA 6, my people will drive them around the single player a lot, and they do a race. Then we have a race meta from the chart. From the start. A race meta, or just a meta in general, doesn't really take very long until it gets figured out. Like, let me put it this way, not to toot this horn too much. If I put someone like Smash or GT Driver or Bez or, you know, maybe even myself into a car, right, just to give a few examples, I can fairly quickly tell, just by simply feeling while driving the car, whether or not this is going to be a top contender. They shouldn't think of every single car as a racing machine. I think that might have been like, you know, where they might have gone wrong, you know. Like, the Tampa GT doesn't have to be something that you're racing, but it should be something that can be very fun to race. Because I know I've been like, you know, shouting about that for a while, but then when I see something like a Tampa GT being released, it's very nice to see that that's something that is actually still being thought about and stuff. And then, you know. Anyways, so let's go drive the Tom Hardy. This is another thing, by the way, customization. I want goofy ass customization like this stuff, because genuinely, this shit is funny. All right, I love this. I want goofy ass customization. I know for a fact it's gonna be really annoying to drive this over a bump, but it's funny as hell.